A new season of Formula One has just begun, and with that, there are new possibilities, new cars, new regulations, new drivers, a returning driver as well. So, what does this season hold? I am Sid,
Hi guys, I'm Raunaq.
and this is the Meninverse. So, Ronnie, we had the 2022 Bahrain Grand Prix, the season opener.
Yeah,
How was it?
it was like in one word, if I can describe it, it's epic. Definitely epic. What about you? What do you think about this?
Well,
Can you describe this first race in one word?
mind blowing
Definitely.
and engine blowing as well.
It blew a lot of people away, like
Yeah,
a lot of teams, and
and surprising actually.
yeah, very
Surprising as well. So many of us were thinking there were a lot of rumors that Mercedes are sandbagging, they're not sandbagging, and well, the true pace was shown in the race. Anyway, we have a lot to discuss about, so I believe you have a set of questions which you want to ask.
Yeah, definitely I have set of questions, but I'm not going to ask those in a traditional manner. Like first, I'm going to give you what I feel about this
Okay.
new season and the first race. The very first question was what happened to the teams? What turned the table drastically this much? Like Mercedes is now technically at the back of the grid, barring
The worst.
leaving Lewis and George. Rest all
Mercedes power
all
unit.
power unit cars are like on the back of the field, and Ferrari has moved up the grid, like up by a very significant margin. Not even Ferrari themselves, but
Haas
even
and
the
Alfa.
Ferrari power teams,
Customer teams.
customer teams,
All
They-
Q3.
all Q3, all were in Q3. That was the one most surprising thing I feel happened this season, the first race.
Well, apart from Mick and Guan Yu, but they were still in Q2.
They drove very nicely.
Yeah.
They had a good season, and they both were applauded for their efforts.
Good season opener. So, as many of you might be knowing, this is a record-breaking season, the biggest season in Formula One till date. 23 races, and it is going to be one hell of a season because we have huge regulation changes, the biggest regulation changes in the past 40 years, if I'm not wrong. Ground effect has made a return after the 80s, and we have a few new drivers who have come in, one new rookie, one returning driver in Kevin Magnussen,
Yeah.
and the Haasterplan and the
I
Ferrari
guess there are
Master
two
Plan.
returning drivers.
Alex Albon
Alex
as well.
Albon and
Yes,
Kevin
you are
Magnussen.
right. And the Haasterplan and the Ferrari Master Plan seem to be working.
Definitely.
Let's see.
Steiner ship has
Definitely
sail.
set sail.
That was the most spectacular thing to witness in this season opener.
Yeah.
So yeah, now my very first question that I very desperately want to ask you: what has happened with Mercedes power units, and why are they struggling with their power? The final race of the previous season just happened 3 months back. They had superb car. Nothing came close to that car.
Yeah, no doubt. Right.
Yeah.
So, what I believe has happened is I was watching a few videos as well. So, apparently, it is something to do with the fuel as well. And the new Mercedes power unit has been redesigned in order to work with the new E10 fuels. So, E10 fuels are basically race fuel used, needs to have 10% ethanol in it. So, the engines consume the fuel in a different way, they make power in a different way. And there is also a significant drop in power because of the increased ethanol volume in the fuel.
But isn't this the case with all the teams?
So yeah, Ferrari apparently they have found a way out of this, and they have tweaked their engine in such a way that it overcomes the deficit. Renault or Alpine, as we now know them, they don't have a customer team, so they just have the two cars to get the data from. So compared to the others, that is Red Bull, Mercedes and Ferrari, they have lesser data, significantly lesser data. And Ferrari have just nailed it. At least that's what it seems like for now.
I guess they have been doing this for
Yeah.
even they ignored their previous season.
Yeah.
entirely, but still they managed to compete
Three.
P3 in constructors.
Correct. So I believe not just the fuel, but also the engine repackaging. The engine has been designed in a way to fit the works Mercedes team. So I believe it has something to do with the mechanicals and the overall engineering of the engine. So I think they should be able to fix that out, and they should be back towards the top end of the grid, because well, it is Mercedes, and that's what's happening with the customer teams as well. So like McLaren just fell off a cliff. I mean, they were P3 in 2020, they were P4 in 2021, and first race of the season they are at the back end, 18th and 19th if I'm not wrong. So that's horrible
this was a very
McLaren
horrible
fanboy
starting.
Yeah, I mean, no one expected that, especially after Barcelona when they were topping the time sheets and everything. So McLaren and Mercedes, in fact all the Mercedes teams, they have a lot to work on.
Like you said, McLaren and Aston Martin and Williams, they all performed very poorly.
Yeah, they qualified I think in the bottom 8, and
throughout the race also they were at the back of the
at
grid.
the absolute end.
And it was like really,
It felt as if, I mean, I hope this is not true, but why is McLaren looking like Haas
This
of
year?
last year? Yeah, because this was the only team which got a 1-2 in the previous season in Monza,
yes.
with Danny and Lando, but this season seemed to have fallen off a cliff.
Maybe they will be struggling a bit in the coming races as well.
Yeah, I think so. And even Lewis was overly happy when he got P5. I mean, we have never seen Lewis happy with a P5. When was the last
in
time?
race he came P3 and he was still very happy.
Yeah,
with that race.
and he was absolutely not expecting it to happen. He did accept the fact that there was a bit of luck factor involved as well, along with reliability. Probably that was a subtle dig at Red Bull, because
we'll come to that as well.
both Red Bulls and the Alpha, we all know what happened.
So yeah, in a nutshell, season starting has been very dull. I would say dull for Mercedes. Like, I guess they have lot things to improve upon, and
I think Mercedes customer teams, I believe Mercedes works team must be really happy with P3 and P4.
now coming to the most beautiful car on the grid. You can go and ask anyone. Like, most of us will say that this year Ferrari is looking very beautiful on the track.
Very
and,
beautiful. And very close to Ferrari is the Alpha.
Okay, yeah, definitely.
Very beautiful.
It's doing good as well.
Yeah, double points finish.
They got double point.
He qualified just behind Lewis. So Lewis was P5 and he was P6. He out-qualified Russell.
He
So
out-qualified his replacement.
his replacement, the prodigy Mercedes
In an
driver.
Alpha.
In an Alpha. He out-qualified a Mercedes. So, redemption day.
Redemption day for all the Ferrari-powered teams and Ferrari themselves.
Yes.
Tifosis must be very happy.
Tifosi must be over the moon. Ferrari 1-2. Fastest lap, race win, and also pole position.
What else can you expect from a race?
What else would you want?
You got the maximum points.
Yeah, maximum points. So Ferrari are 44 points ahead of Red Bull, who are 0.
So guys, Ferrari is back with a bang.
Yes.
This time.
At least for now. Let's see.
At least for now, like, things are looking positive for Ferrari, I believe.
This weekend it is Jeddah.
Yeah. So what do you think about performance of all the teams in Jeddah?
Jeddah, I think. I don't know. I have a feeling that Red Bull will bounce back and Max will be on pole. We all saw last year at Jeddah that lap which would have been definitely a pole lap by Max had
Yes.
he not crashed into the wall. But I think he must have definitely learned from that and he will go out guns a-blazing. I predict a pole for Max in Jeddah. But we'll get to predictions later on. So, anything else?
So we just need a bit of insight about what's it was now happening inside the F1 community.
Okay.
About after this first race. So you are following F1 very closely. You, I guess, are active on Twitter, Insta, almost all social media platforms.
Yeah,
which is a very good thing. Like, you are totally immersed in this Formula 1 world, sitting from one place and like
We also have, in fact, a Formula One community group on Telegram called Turnpike Formula One Community. So it's a really nice group of comprising of all Indians, and the main aim for that group is to spread the knowledge of Formula One in India and get like-minded people together. There are a lot of newcomers who have just started watching Formula One in the past 2-3 years. There are quite a few people who have come to Formula One after watching Drive to Survive as well. So it is fun getting to connect with everyone, getting to talk Formula One, not just with a select group of 1 or 2 people, but with a whole community. We get to know a lot of things, so it's fun. And if anyone wants to join that group, I will leave a link in the description down below. So you're most welcome. We talk Formula One almost 24 hours a day. Yeah, we are just around 430 or 450 people right now. Still pretty small. I hope one day will come when we'll be in the tens and 20s of thousands.
So yeah, just wanted to know what's happening there. Like you said in your group on Telegram, you're very active on I guess almost every social media sites.
Yes.
So what is the buzz now? What are people talking about right at this moment?
Two things in particular. As I said before also, the Ferrari Master Plan. There are speculations already that Charles will be the world champion. Then the other thing which is catching people and getting them completely excited is Haas. Haas finished in the point. If you look at the constructor standings right now, Haas is P3. P3 for Haas.
That is something very amazing.
I mean, and P4 for Alfa Romeo, P1 for Ferrari.
This actually brought a very big smile on our faces.
I mean, this is brilliant. There is a lot of talk about close racing as well, and towards the sadder part of it, there are way too many memes on McLaren. I mean, I love McLaren and I just can't see them struggling like this. So yeah, but we are all hoping
social media is always brutal, man. Like they won't lose a second to make a meme on a subject on them. Like
people are comparing it to the McLaren Honda partnership of the turbo hybrid era. So the infamous Alonso radio messages, GP2 engine. So yeah, so there's a lot happening. But yeah, mostly the focus is on Ferrari.
Definitely.
So, and there are also talks that the rivalry this time will be Ferrari and Red Bull, unless Merc comes to spoil the party.
Speaking about rivalry, I just want to ask, will there be any rivalry within a team, within two drivers? There are now a lot of chances we can see a rivalry.
I think,
for example, like, I don't know, correct me if I'm wrong, there's some tension building a bit between Charles and Sainz. Already.
Yeah, I don't know if we can call it.
And then we have a very young driver to Mercedes, George, who is competing against Lewis. Lewis is a very experienced, I guess, one of the best drivers on the grid.
I don't know if we can still call it, if we can call it a rivalry between Charles and Carlos. But yeah, one thing is for certain that Carlos wants that race win. He is not going to settle for being a Barrichello or a Bottas to Charles. So I believe he's just being very focused. He has that determination that he wants that race win and if possible even the championship. He's not settling for P2. He was very upset with the P2. He said on the radio as well that not a good day for me. So most people would be completely over the moon saying that Ferrari won too. But
I would have been very happy to see like my team point 2 on the grid, but that is what separates a very good and competitive racing driver from a normal.
This mindset which he is having right now, Carlos, if he can carry this, I am pretty sure it can turn into a battle. If
it can heat up?
Yes, definitely it can heat up. I just hope it doesn't heat up to the point of Lewis and Nico. But
so our motive is not to create any
tension.
Rumors.
We are not Drive to Survive.
We don't want any kind of rivalries. We want
good hard racing.
Plain, simple, good hard racing. But you never know what can happen inside a driver's mind.
Yeah.
On the race day.
Probably this is what separates a good driver from a great driver. So like Bottas is a good driver, no doubt. But you wouldn't call him a great driver.
Well, you can call Nico Rosberg a great driver. Like he
Yeah,
stood for himself and
yeah,
he
you have
got-
to take that chance. So let's see. Fingers crossed. Things don't heat up in Ferrari, but Carlos is determined. He is determined. He wants that race.
Carlos is determined, and even Charles is
Charles.
very much determined to grab this world championship.
If there is an option, let's see.
There are 22 races left. There will be a
Yeah.
lot of opportunities for Ferrari, I believe. So yeah, what about George and Hamilton?
So coming to George and Lewis, so I believe there will come a tipping point when George will be like, I'm going for this. I'm absolutely going
I'm
for
not
this.
going to take any radio messages.
Yeah, I'm not going to sit and listen to George, this is James. No. So I think because George has that mentality that he wants to be a Formula 1 world champion, he has shown that determination in previous races as well. When Williams got their first points in Hungary, he had tears in his eyes. He was crying. That you can just feel how that means to anyone. Like, I mean, if you compare him, you shouldn't, but if you compare his reaction to what Nicholas Latifi had, it was clear how much it meant for Russell. So,
Definitely.
and even during the race, he is a team player, no doubt, because he was saying that if you have to sacrifice me for Nicky, prioritize Nicky. So that says a lot about the driver. So I believe George will play by the rules, but when the time comes, he will not back down. If he is asked to move aside for Lewis, I don't know. I don't think that might happen.
Even I don't think that George is anytime going to back off.
Yeah.
Like he's definitely fighting for the best, and
Yes.
because he is the best, like
He has to prove it. He has to prove it.
I guess
He has to
had
prove his
proven
authority.
everything. Now it's just his time to like grab
Basically, he
those
has to
trophies and
he has to ascertain his authority in the team. He
Yeah.
needs to show that I am not a number 2 driver. So these are the
Definitely.
two rivalries, inter-team rivalries, which we can see happening. at
Any
the
other?
moment. No other.
Yeah, no
I don't think so.
Okay, so now moving on to my next curiosity, Red Bull. Now we are going to talk about Red Bull.
Yes. The tragedy of
Like-
Red Bull.
3 of the Red Bull's cars, like their sister team Alpha Tauri and Red Bull themselves. Red Bull lost 2. Alpha Tauri lost Pierre Gasly. What was the issue with all 3 cars?
So it turns out that the issue was in fact one with the fuel pump, and the fuel pump is one part in the car which is used by all the teams. So what a few channels and what a few experts have been saying is that although the fuel pump design, the material used for the fuel pump is the same, but the fuel is different for each and every team, and the fuel is homologated as well. So it is the blending of the fuel which might be causing a corrosion in the fuel pump, and it shouldn't be much of a headache for the team, and they might probably use some different kind of material to prevent that corrosion. So I think Red Bull will be back by Jeddah. It shouldn't be a huge issue for them.
And Max was seen having some trouble with his steering wheel.
So his steering wheel was apparently very heavy, and what Red Bull have come out to say is that it happened during one of the pit stops when the car was dropped from the height from the jack. So that seemed to have damaged the track rods. So it's the part which connects the steering wheel to the wheel. So probably some damage happened because of that, and that's why the steering wheel was heavy. But later on the engine died out. So yeah.
Okay, so Horner must be really upset about this thing.
Definitely, because they are now 44 points behind in the championship.
That's massive gap.
That's a huge gap. So they need to make up that deficit. They need a couple of 1-2s and a lot of 1-2s, I think, because Ferrari will still
Dominate.
they seem too fast. Yeah, they seem to be really strong, and let's see street circuits what happens. So Raunaq, anything else you have in store for me?
There are actually a lot of things
Okay.
to be answered right now at the moment, as this season is very fresh. To start with, can you just brief us about the new tracks which are included in this season?
Yeah, so there are, I think, one new track there is, which is Miami. Australia also you can consider it as a newish track because
Australia is making a comeback now.
Yes, Australia is making a comeback. There is a slight change in a few corners. They've made it a bit faster. So Australia is one track which I am looking forward to.
Do we have Canada also?
Canada is back. Singapore is back. And
Sweet.
probably there might be a race in Qatar again because of the cancellation of the Russian Grand Prix, or maybe even Malaysia. If that happens, I would love that. I am pretty sure all Formula 1 fans would absolutely love a race in Sepang. Then there is also a contention of, if I'm not wrong, Portugal.
Okay.
So let's see what happens. It has not been decided which race will be replacing Russia. So yeah, new track is Miami. I am very much looking forward to Miami. It's a street circuit, a brand new street circuit, and it is designed around the Hard Rock Stadium in Miami.
Okay.
So it should be fun. So we will be having 2 American Grand Prix. So that's going to be something to look forward to.
So that means this year we are going to see a lot of street circuits on the schedule.
Yeah. So we have Jeddah, which is this week. Then we have Monaco.
Fastest of the
Fastest. Then we have Monaco. We have Baku. We have Canada. We have Miami. We have Australia. So we have quite a few street circuits. This is going to be a really interesting and really exciting Formula 1 season.
Yes, definitely. I mean, being able to see so many new tracks like, is definitely going to garner more audience as well.
And having tracks coming back, like Canada, we didn't go to Canada
Yes, last year.
since 2019, and we didn't go to
Since 2020, I guess.
no 2019 was the last race.
Yeah, in Canada,
Ah.
definitely.
So yeah, so it's gonna be fun. Let's see what happens.
We haven't been talking about cars much. We've talked about few teams and about their cars in
Yep.
general.
Uh-huh.
But what now most people want to know, how has this present car changed the racing scenarios entirely from the previous season?
Okay, so this, as I previously said, this is the biggest rule change in the past 40 years of Formula 1, and ground effect has made a comeback. So we won't be seeing those barge boards which were right in front of the side pods, and the car surface has been made way more smoother. All of this has been done in an attempt to reduce the dirty air which is produced by the cars, so that we have closer racing, closer wheel-to-wheel action. And we did see a glimpse of that when Verstappen and Leclerc were fighting for the race win. So I hope we have more of these opportunities, and I just hope that it is clean racing.
Yes, definitely. I mean, this is one thing everybody will love to see, more combat on the track amongst the drivers.
And along with the barge board being gone, most of the aerodynamics which are being produced by the cars now are produced underneath the car. So there are tunnels, Venturi tunnels underneath the car, which suck in the air, and basically it produces a lot of downforce by sucking the car down to the ground, but which has also led to a problem, the porpoising or the bouncing of the car. It feels as if the drivers are in a rock concert and headbanging. So it's interesting how various teams have found their way around this problem, but Mercedes is still struggling with porpoising. So I just hope I'm pronouncing it right.
Yeah, I guess it's
Porpoising.
porpoising,
Yeah.
porpoising, or
Yeah, but so that is another rule change which has come into play. The third thing is the rear wings are way more smoother. So in order to again reduce the dirty air which is coming out from behind the car.
And yet there have been some talks about wing below a wing, like which is centered like exactly at the exhaust area.
Yeah, so
Of
that
the car?
is a beam wing. So the purpose of a beam wing is the air which is coming underneath the car, from the Venturi tunnels. It helps push that air high up into the air, so that it doesn't hit the car which is coming right
Following
behind you.
car.
Yeah, the following car. So again, the following car will have higher downforce as compared to 2021.
So I guess in return, it will reduce the gap between the two cars,
Yes,
and maybe
yes.
it might result in more exciting races.
Yes. But along with that, a few problems have come in, like overheating of the tires, and apparently the slipstream is not that strong enough.
Yeah, this is one thing we
So-
saw in
Bahrain as well.
Bahrain as well. Like teams were going for 3-stop strategy
Yeah,
rather than 2 or 1. Like 1 was, in my opinion, completely impossible in such scenarios.
yeah, because there have been changes to the tires as well. So the biggest change is the tires used to be 13-inch tires. Now they're 18-inch tires, brand new tires from Pirelli. Pirelli said that these tires are more durable, but we had a 3-stop race in Bahrain for most of the teams, especially the top teams. So that means the tires are wearing off faster than what all teams had expected.
Yes, as a matter of fact, this was a real concern amongst the teams on the grid during the race. So yeah, now moving forward, I guess it's a bit similar. It's a bit related to the previous question I asked.
Okay.
How have the drivers reacted to this thing? The new chain, the new regulation, the new tires. I guess everything about the car.
Yeah, so these cars are completely different from the previous generation of cars. These cars are technically about a second or two slower than the previous generation cars, and because of the size of the tires, the view out of the cockpit is also restricted, and we have now winglets over the front tires, which again have been put in there to clean the air around the tires and to reduce the dirty air which is produced by the tire. And along with that, we also have smoother front wings. So yeah, a lot of attempts have been made in order to make the racing more exciting. So along with that, I think the drivers also have had to relearn the entire way of driving the car. So many drivers are adapting to this new rule. Some are still struggling. So I think it's gonna be interesting what happens. The cars are going to develop each race. So with the budget cap, it's going to be even more interesting to see what team prioritizes what development of which part of the car. So it's going to be interesting. So yeah, it's
So
a constant
definitely-
learning curve.
Definitely, like you said, drivers are now more in touch with the new cars. So will be the feedbacks from the driver, and which, as a result, would end up in more developments. What all areas do you feel like the teams are going to work upon for developing their car, and like this new regulation barring like imposing a budget cap on the development amount? So how is this thing going to affect this development process of cars?
So I think one area in which teams are going to be focusing is on the floor of the car. So with the previous generation ground effect cars which were there in the late 70s and early 80s, in that time some cars had skirts on the sides. That was in order to trap all the air inside and have a cleaner design in order to stop the bouncing and have maximum downforce. But now this time in these regulations, skirts are not allowed. So they have to produce the floors in such a manner in order to use the air as a invisible skirt around the floor of the car in order to trap the air underneath the car as well. So I believe there will be a lot of development happening on the floor of the car. Then I don't know, but I also see some development happening around the front wing of the car, and of course it will all be underneath the car. So maximum development which might happen, we might not even see it. So because it will be the way the Venturi tunnels are produced under the car. So there's going to be a lot of development.
Well, that was quite an information on the current cars, and I believe these ground effect cars were also present like in late 80s,
Early 80s.
early 80s, early 80s and
Late
70s.
90s, yeah.
Our very favorite Niki Lauda also used to drive.
Yeah, he
Something
also
similar.
drove a fan car. Brabham said that the fan is used to cool the engine, but that was all BS. It was actually to suck out the air and make it stick to the ground. He won the race also, and that was the only race the fan car entered into. It was later on banned from the next race onwards. So, and apart from that, one innovation which even George Russell suggested was the return of active suspension.
Okay, now this is getting really interesting here. These active suspension cars, I guess there were two of them. One belonged to very famous Williams, and I guess everybody knows who won that world championship, and that car was absolutely
Untouchable.
Absolute domination on the track. That 92 world championship was won by Nigel Mansell, I believe. So yeah, it will be very interesting to see such kind of innovations in car. But is it safe, or what do you have any idea about feasibility of this kind of developments?
Outright the FIA denied that active suspension will be making a return. They have said that no, active suspension will not make a return. The primary reason for that would be if you put an active suspension, then it's a computer. You can just feed into the computer how the suspension should behave at certain corners. The car will learn the track, and basically the driver is just steering the car. So the role of the driver gets reduced, and it becomes very automated. Yeah, so
technology driven.
Yeah, it's a technology.
So we don't want to see such kind
to.
of race.
Yeah.
We want to see pure driver interaction with the car.
And it is also a safety hazard, because the driver will be confident that the car will behave. He knows that the car will stay flat, which means the drivers will be pushing even further. So it becomes dangerous in street circuits, especially like Jeddah. So imagine an active suspension car completely barreling down the road, and the driver is confident that yes, it will stick, but suddenly it loses downforce, loses traction, and crashes into the wall. And that can be dangerous. We don't want another Romain Grosjean type accident.
Yeah. Definitely, we don't want that. And
or even Max
driving around the corners at such a high speed is like lethal, guys.
These are overpriced coffins.
Yeah. So now there's one very sweet question everybody's happy about: the comeback of Haas.
Yeah.
And Alfa Romeo. Like, these two teams did a splendid job on the track, and I mean, they just drove like it's nothing to them. Like, they are meant to be positioned in that particular field.
I'm pretty sure it is a huge confidence booster for both the teams.
Definitely.
Because Haas scored 0 points. They were P10 in previous year's championship. Alfa Romeo was P9 and Williams was P8. So the Haas and the Alphas were really struggling a lot in 2020, even 2021. So with a double points finish for Alfa and P5 for Haas, Kevin Magnussen, amazing. And kudos to these guys. These guys have struggled a lot. Haas completely sacrificed the 2021 season, and they had rookie drivers, and they were struggling to make the team run. And we all like an underdog story.
Definitely.
Everyone likes that. And Haas sacrificing their previous year's campaign and putting all the efforts into 2022, they have started to reap benefits.
Yes, definitely. In fact,
And
it was
Ferrari power unit.
such a sight to behold when to see all this expression on the Haas crew.
So happy.
It was like literally surreal to watch, and I wish all the very best to Haas and Alpha, both the teams.
I think that they will get podium. I don't know.
I'm betting on both of
I have
the
a
teams
feeling.
too.
I have a gut feeling that both of them will get podium.
Yes, definitely, and it will be very interesting to see. Who knows? We might see Haas and Alphas on the podium only, or maybe they might be like a lot of
an ideal
interference among the drivers, which might result in some crashes, and that in turn will help these.
Whatever it is, a podium is a podium.
A podium is a podium, but still, that will be very exciting to see who grabs that podium.
The ideal podium for me would be Haas winning, Alpha P2 and Williams P3. That would be the ideal podium. The three underdogs on the podium of Formula 1.
What I can see, I think Williams is going to stay underdog for a bit.
Yeah, but
maybe
let's
unfortunate
hope
for
for the best.
Mercedes. So finally, we move on to the last portion of our podcast, and always we discuss about the predictions.
Yes.
So what are the predictions for Jeddah qualification?
I think Max will be on pole, Sainz will be P2, no, Leclerc P2 and Sainz P3.
So even I feel that Max will try to do something spectacular next race, and he is hungry for a podium or a win right now.
Yeah.
Let's hope. Now, what are your predictions for the race?
The race in Jeddah would be Sainz winning, Max P2 and Charlie P3.
Alright. Well, guys, that is just our wild prediction. Like, that is how we feel right now at the moment, looking at the performance of all these cars.
Who knows? Maybe even we might have K-Mag.
K-Mag on the podium. Yeah, that is something
Or
we would all love to see. Mick or K-Mag. Yeah, there are a lot of drivers we want to see on the podium this year. So let's see who makes it and who wins our heart with their driving skills. And with this...
Hey, wait. Where are we going? What are your predictions?
Okay, so like I just said, predicting at this point of time is a bit difficult. It's been just same one race, but from what I can see, I clearly see both the Ferraris on the podium and taking P1 and P2 in quali, and I'm not currently able to decide amongst Charles and Sainz as to who will be.
Wild guess.
I'll toss a coin and maybe I'll just say Sainz. Let's give this chance to Sainz.
He deserves a win.
Yeah, he definitely deserves a win. Okay, Sainz P1 in quali, Charles P2, Max P3, and for the race, I really want Max to win, Sainz and Charles.
Okay, this is going to be interesting. Let's see what happens in Jeddah.
Yeah.
So that was all for today. If you guys like this kind of content, please do give us a like. Do subscribe if you have not. And for all those people who have subscribed, thank you so much. We will be churning out more content on Formula 1 throughout the season. So thanks a lot everyone, and do share this video. And please do tell us your predictions. What are your predictions for quali as well as the race in Jeddah? So that's all for today. Thank you everyone for listening to us. This was Sid and
Raunaq.
And this was the Men in Verse. Thank you.